This is the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome in another edition of the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com. Breaking down District 5 and 6 athletics every week in the state of Idaho. Brandon Baney joined by our East Idaho resident and expert, Sean Kane. What's up, Sean?
Spring comes along and there's two things I love, and that's NBA playoff basketball and warm weather. I'm enjoying 1.5 of those. But I used to follow the NBA like religiously, and then I've kind of dropped off, but I do like NBA playoff basketball. So I have not yet enjoyed too much of the warm weather part of that. And the leftover Easter candy could be in the top 3 too. So there you go.
Now, boy, there's a lot of different ways I could take this. Okay, we're going to go off the path a little bit here, and then we'll circle back. You know what I'm tired of, absolutely sick of, that has to do with the NBA playoffs? Draymond Green. I'm done with that guy. Like, I don't ever want to see him on my TV ever again.
Seriously. They had a meme of him, he looked like 50 years old, still like pushing someone over on the sidelines or something. They're like, he'll still be playing in 15 years doing this. And I thought, oh my goodness, I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes you just gotta move on. At least Dennis Rodman did it and then like owned up to it, I guess, is what I think of. When it's him, it's never really owned up to it, I guess.
Yeah. And like, everyone's like, oh, well, Sabonis, twisted his ankle first. And it's like, well, actually, Draymond started it first because like 2 quarters earlier, he boxed him out and just sat on him to prevent him from going down the floor the other way on the fast break. Like, I'm so done with this guy. He is the cheapest, dirtiest MFer. This is a family-friendly show, but I don't mean to get so irate. But
yeah, I mean, I liked them early on with Golden State. I thought that was exciting to watch, but like you said, I'm kind of like, we've read the story, we've seen him lying on the ground doing something, and it's time to move on. But yeah, I don't think Golden State's even going to get out of there. So,
gosh, I hope not. Yeah.
I would be real surprised at this point. But yeah, I didn't know that was going to be a hot take for you. But there you go.
I've got two more loaded up that have nothing to do with East Idaho sports, because that's just the kind of week it is. Number 2, the weather. All right, let's talk about it. I have been trying to sell my house for legit like 4 months now, right? Like 4 months, and the housing market sucks, right? We're in a recession. You're not supposed to say that, but we are. We're in a recession, economically as a country. And we did an open house 2 weeks ago. And then like 2 days later, it dumped all that snow, right? It snowed like 1.5 feet. We had 1 GD showing this week. Wow. And what happened? It was yesterday. And it was snowing. I'm done with this.
I know. As you guys all know, I coach tennis, and it was Monday. Couldn't have been a nicer day. We played a match. And then it's Tuesday. We're supposed to go to Blackfoot. And baseball is supposed to go to Shelley, and it's a little after lunchtime when we're all waiting and the buses come and the AD's calling and they're like, all right, baseball's going. I'm like, okay. So baseball went and played last night in the hailstorm or whatever. And they're like, well, just wait. Oh no, it's snowing in 40-mile-an-hour winds. You're canceled. I'm like, what the heck? And the best part of it is I canceled everything, right? I'm like, it's snowing out here at Century. There's no way we'll be able to practice. I'm just calling it. And then I drove home after work and it started kind of like pouring snow down. I'm like, okay, I made a good call. But then, not much later, like 5 o'clock, it was like sunny.
Yeah.
I'm like, give me a break. Get the weather some Ritalin or something. I don't know.
The showing at my house was literally from 2:30 to 3:30. And when was the snow?
Yeah.
From like 2 to 4 yesterday. I'm just done with
like hail. We at Century, the National Guard had a Black Hawk come land on the football field yesterday, which was pretty cool how quiet that Black Hawk is flying in. But it started to snow and like hail, and they didn't know if they were going to do it or not, but they did. I'm like, it's hailing out. we're not playing tennis today. And oh my goodness, it's been rough.
And what was the occasion for the Blackhawk?
I think it's just a National Guard kind of recruiting thing. They were stopped. They were coming from Boise, maybe on a training, and they landed it. And then they kind of have like a promotion too. You can sign up and for a raffle to get a ride on one or win a wood pellet grill or something. I picked the grill, but yeah. But I was like, oh, they're just landing a helicopter out here. It's not that big a deal, but man, the thing is quiet. Like you didn't hear it until it was on the football field. So it was pretty cool experience to just realize how quiet those things are. You hear the one from Portneuf from miles away, and this one you didn't hear it until it was just like right over Century High School. So that was kind of cool thing for the National Guard, and their recruiting and stuff, and they're good sponsors to everything, right? So it was pretty cool experience.
Yeah, I was wondering if the Blackhawk was landing in honor of Mikey Blackhawk, the baseball coach at Century.
We keep asking him to make sure he doesn't light anything on fire, right? Because the Blackhawk barbecue thing is lit on fire twice, the food truck.
Yes.
And I don't think he's related to him, or he is. I can't remember, so don't quote me on that. But hey, Mike, you don't play with matches. I was telling him that yesterday, and while we were waiting for the game, don't play with matches. We don't need anything lighting on fire. But yeah, he's a good guy. He's helped out with football for numerous years, and he does the stats for boys basketball. And he, kind of a good thing to talk about. He's kind of taken the Century baseball team in a way different direction than they have been in the past, and doing a great job with a really kind of just a bunch of young guys. So, good job by him. And he's been around coaching. He knows what he's doing. And he's a good guy. If you ever get to meet him, he's a really fun guy. And I enjoy working with him. And I, always go and talk to him too about football and things. He's kind of got an inside track on a lot of this stuff, and he's been involved in baseball for forever. So
yep.
Congrats to him.
Yes. Even during the summer. Okay. My third off topic tangent, and then we'll get into East Idaho sports, because this is what people tune in for. They tune in to hear what I think about things.
I heard they tune in for my hair, but I've been in a hat the last few days.
You've had a hat on the
well, because I had a stocking hat at practice today, so the hair is not in its pristine positioning where we're all used to it, so we get the backwards hat. So There you go. That's what you get.
All right. Okay. Third tangent. This has to do with the Easter candy that you brought up. Is it just me, or are the Reese's Easter egg chocolates like 10 times more delicious than just a regular Reese's peanut butter cup?
Yes, if you put them in the freezer and then eat them. Do you ever
I'm
do
good
that?
with that.
Yeah, I love putting chocolate in the freezer and then eating it. But that's I don't know. That's just like a me thing, I guess. My kids like it too. But I love those, and I love those little chocolate eggs. The Cadbury's little chocolate eggs. Like you can only get them at Easter, and I don't really like candy, but that's like my probably favorite chocolate candy. And
I hope you agree with me on this, but Peeps, right into the garbage. I got no time for Peeps.
I bought some. My son is 6. He's going to turn 6 next week, and we were out in spring break, and they had Easter stuff already, and he's like, I want these, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy one package for, I don't even think they could give them away. They're like 70 cents at Walmart, and I'm like, okay, we'll get them. But I go, you got to eat one. Ugh, this is gross. And I'm like, I know people like putting them in the microwave. I know people like them when they're like really stale, like open them up and leave them out. And
candy you could not make me eat. Peeps,
no.
Candy corn at Halloween, another seasonal candy I can't stand. And in the poor candy bar nobody ever wants. It's always in the like 99-cent bin at Walmart. The salted nut roll.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
It's which is funny because there's like the Payday that is kind of similar, and that's not as bad. But there's like I know what you're talking about. There's one that's not great.
Yeah, it's always listed for like 75 cents or whatever, and just
3 for $1.
Yeah, nobody wants any part of that. So, all right. Well, now that I'm all fired up, now let me get into a rant that is actually related to East Idaho sports. We're 10 minutes in, and we're finally getting into East Idaho sports. This is great podcasting. Coaches polls came out today for softball and baseball. They're on the homepage at IdahoSports.com. What is going on in the 5A coaches poll? How could Thunder Ridge be left out of the poll? How egregious an offense this is. I'm upset about this as a neutral. I live in East Idaho, right? But I'm a fairly neutral observer of things statewide. But this is, I'm like, what the heck? All 5 teams in the top 5 of the 5A softball poll from Boise.
Yeah, I mean, the people voting on that, or I mean, it's the coaches poll, right? I mean,
right.
And maybe I don't know. I don't know how you can't. I don't know how Thunder Ridge doesn't get a few more votes. Just with they have 3 phenomenal pitchers. I don't know many teams that go 3 deep that high level, and yeah, kind of just a robbery. The one I was gonna say was I thought would be kind of you kind of would scratch your head about would be Pocatello girls, but they moved up to 2, which I think is probably a pretty good showing compared to BK. That's obviously Bishop Kelly's been very dominant in girls softball the last few years, but I would not sleep on that Thunder softball team. They're really firing on all cylinders, and they haven't lost a game.
Yeah, and they're the only team to beat Thunder Ridge. We've talked about that a couple times. I saw that today because I'm the one that puts the polls together and publishes them on the website, and I saw that and I'm like, what the bleep? What is this? Like, it just ruined my whole day, Sean. It really did. So
yeah, and I'll be honest, like I'm not the expert of the SIC or anything, but it like Kuna and like 11-4. They're only 5-3 in their conference, and they're tied for 4th. And then you've got Thunder Ridge, that's only lost 1 game, and I don't know how they don't receive. Maybe at least they're not in there over those 2 teams, Capital and Kuna.
Yeah, and maybe at the end of the year we'll find out the SIC really was that good, and sometimes that happens. But to just completely not give a 15-1 team the nod, like, come on, get out of here with that. Like, I got no time for that. All right, softball. As we look at the rest of the coaches' polls, you mentioned Pocatello, very highly represented in the 4A poll, checking in at number 2, just behind Bishop Kelly. No complaints with that. At the 3A ranks, you got nothing. I think that's just a lack of games. There still just hasn't been a ton of games at the 3A level. 2A, Malad is the top ranked team, deservedly so. They're still undefeated at 9-0, and continuing to pick up more and more games. They went over to the Glens Ferry tournament this past weekend, and actually a lot of teams from East Idaho did. North Fremont, West Side, all went over and played there. West Jefferson is tied for 3rd in the poll. West Side is number 5. So 3 of the 5 at the 2A is from East Idaho. And then in the 1A poll, there's nobody from East Idaho that plays 1A softball. So yeah. Besides Thunder Ridge, who is a team that is lurking that we didn't mention in any of these coaches' polls? Do you have one?
Maybe like Marsh Valley. I think Marsh Valley is pretty solid. I've heard a lot of good things about that team, and they did receive votes. Their South Fremont received votes, but I think Marsh Valley, and I think that was the problem before, is they didn't have a ton of games under their belts. But I think Marsh Valley is pretty good in 3A. That'd be it for me. And then 4A, I think there's a lot of teams in District 6 that. And they've kind of beat up on each other, and there's teams that receive votes like Hillcrest, Shelley, Blackfoot. I think Skyline just got a big win over a conference opponent the other day. So, I think you could see a team from District 6 pop up in that 4A poll at some point during the season too.
Yeah, Hillcrest is leading right now, 9-5 overall, 4-1 in the league. And then you have this glom of Shelley, Blackfoot, Idaho Falls, Skyline. They're all kind of right in a line there after that. I'm with you. I think South Fremont is a team that's lurking. Chris Hammond, great coach up there, and has done a great job with this South Fremont team. The Cougars, have a really good offensive attack, and they are 10-4 overall. They are 5-0 in league play, and they've just got hitters up and down the lineup. Natalie Robles and Haley Angel and Shantae Lecheminant and Berkeley Yancey. And I mean, you could just go on and on and on. And Callie Johnson and Brianne Bailey. And I mean, just they got a lot of good hitters, a lot of good athletes. And let's not forget, South Fremont, as the 7-seeded state last year, beat Marsh Valley, the 2 seed.
Yeah.
And the Cougars ended up, a top 4 team at state last year. So I think South Fremont's lurking. Marsh Valley's 1-5. They've only played 6 games.
Yeah.
And they've played a pretty tough schedule. Kimberly twice and Homedale, which is the 3A juggernaut.
Yeah.
They've played Malad. They've played Minico. So, I mean, it's hard to tell with Marsh Valley. They just haven't had a ton of games.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I said. The games are kind of there, but I think they're pretty well coached, and they'll probably hopefully get some more games in and kind of round out that schedule and with conference and things like that. So, I think the polls are really benefited by teams that have went and played tournaments, right? Went and tried to get some of those extra games, and that's really kind of made the difference. And because you only can really paint the picture with what you have in front of you.
Yeah, that's spot on. So the baseball coaches polls came out today as well. Nobody ranked in the 5A poll. When you look at let me double check this real quick. Make sure I'm looking at the right poll data here. I don't want to give you the wrong data. Okay. In the 5A poll, yeah, there is nobody ranked. Highland was 6th, basically. They were the first team to receive votes. In the 4A poll, Pocatello 4, Bonneville 5, Pokey 9-2. The Bees are 9-3. I feel good about those two. Marsh Valley still the top team in the 3A poll at 10-2. Sugar Salem is 3rd, and the Diggers have played basically 3 tournaments, all in Western Idaho, so getting their games in. 2A ranks, Firth is still number 2. And 1A poll, there's nobody because there's nobody played. Who is a team that I did not list there that you have your eye on, Sean?
Oh man, for baseball, again in 5A, it's pretty tough, but 4A, I look towards District 6. I could see Blackfoot and also Skyline pretty good. And then, a team that is still kind of in the back of my mind is Idaho Falls is always a really good baseball team in 4A. In 3A, there's not really anything that comes to mind. 2A, maybe North Fremont or your favorite team, Chalice Mackey.
Yeah, I love the River Cats.
Yeah, and the River Cats, they always seem to have pretty one of the hardest schedules, right? They've got to go and just play lots of variety and different teams. So I think whatever their record is, it's not as important as long as they're playing well at the end, because I think they'll be battle tested. Those would be mine.
Yeah, I like it. I feel good about that. Let's see if
I did find it interesting though that Pocatello Thunder and Sugar Salem played Saturday and Pocatello won 7-1. I thought that was kind of a big kind of highlighted game. They're different divisions, but 2 really, really young, good teams with a lot of upside. So I thought that was a pretty good game for the Thunder to come out with a win at Hollow Park, 7-1.
Yeah, and that game was kind of picked up on the fly. Wasn't on the original schedule. Both teams had openings in their schedule, and they said basically, let's get together and do this thing. A team that I think people are sleeping on a little bit, I think, is Rigby. You look at this Trojans team, and they're 7-6 overall, but they're 5-2 in High Country Conference play. That puts them in first place for the time being. Aaron Archibald has been playing really well. Peyton Klingler. They've got Jack Budrero. They've got a lot of seniors on the team this year. And they're kind of gearing up, I think, for a possible postseason run. So Rigby maybe is a team to keep an eye on as well.
Yeah, and then Rigby played at that tournament and lost to some pretty good teams, like Middleton, Skyview, or some teams that have been playing well. And yeah, I mean, Rigby's they've got an interest. If you look at their record and their schedule, they've kind of got an interesting. They lost to Thunder Ridge 6-3, but then beat Thunder Ridge 15-7. So, and then they beat Thunder Ridge again, 11-9. So, and they've beaten Highland twice and lost him once. So, they've got some wins. They've got some losses, right? They've went back and forth, and we've talked about with teams that can find a way to win. I think it's important to look when you win that second time. Maybe you've made those adjustments and found what works as the struggle to start the season has been for any spring sport.
Yeah, a lot of stop and starts in East Idaho for sure. All right, well, we've got some big events coming up, weather permitting, in East Idaho this weekend, specifically in District 5. Sean, big tennis competition coming up.
Yeah, we've got the Gate City Invite here in Pocatello. It's going to feature 8 teams: Century, Highland, Pocatello, obviously, Rigby, Skyline, Hillcrest, Idaho Falls. I think, did I name 8 schools?
Yeah, list those off again.
Okay, we got Century, Pocatello, Highland, Skyline. I forgot Blackfoot, Rigby, Hillcrest, Idaho Falls.
Okay, so most of the District 5 and 6, 5A, 4As.
And we did it 2 years ago, and we did 16 teams, and we've done it where we've had actually a team from Utah come. Just due to the weather and stuff, we downsized it this year, but it'll be nice to get a little tournament action in if we can. And Highland hosts that, and it'll be good. We'll be using all the courts around town, and we do a pod play. So you have a pod of 4 people in your pod. You can play that out. Top 2 go to a championship bracket. Bottom 2 go to a consolation bracket and play it out Saturday. So it's just a really good opportunity to get a lot of matches. A lot of kind of people in your district or in your area, and it helps with that ranking and just getting some matches in, really. And for me personally, I just like the tournament feel of it better than, because dual matches, it's not like state tournament at all. You're there with your team, you play one match, you're done. And then when you get to a tournament or state, you're just in your division, and that's it. So that's why I like the tournament play a little better. It gives you a little more of that state vibe. So that will be a great event happening this weekend in Pocatello, hosting a tennis tournament.
Yeah, and you'll play through the weather, right? It'll be
yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see. At some point they have to make decisions, with buses and stuff. And yeah, tennis is a tough one. We can't really play if it's wet, and so it'll just be, I don't know, down to the wire, because Friday's weather's not looking amazing at this point.
Right. And obviously it's not your decision alone, right? It's
No.
up to the other coaches as well. So
yeah, what happens a lot of times is that, they'll kind of say, well, we need to know by this time, or make a decision, or maybe they'll be willing just to come and see and what will happen. But since we don't really have indoor opportunity to supplement that, it'll be, they'll probably try to make it the day before, and what's best. And the nice thing about Highland doesn't do it as a fundraiser or to make money. They just ask, to bring balls, and they just want kids to get a ton of different matches. And I really like that aspect of it, that it's not a fundraiser for the school. It's not something like that. It's just to get, the players in East Idaho matches.
yeah, because that's really what it's about. It's not about, the balls is still, during the pandemic, I know it was like everything. It was hard to get tennis balls. Are you still running into that?
I had some inside sources at a local warehouse supplier, Costco, and they didn't have them in the store, but we found out you could order them. And So I ordered a bunch, and then I also told Mike Federico at the IHSA about it, and he emailed all the tennis coaches that you could buy them. So I actually helped everyone. Can we put that somewhere? I was nice.
Right.
But it was difficult. Last year I didn't even know if I was going to be able to get enough, because places were like, you can only order this much and this and that, and it was a little rough, but it seems to be a lot better now. The prices went up a lot on everything. So
right,
like stringing, like the tennis string I like to use, like doubled in cost from one year to another. So
gotcha. Well, if you've got the inside connection at Costco, you got to get me the hookup on those cheese puffs.
I took a picture and sent it to you.
I know, I saw that. Another side tangent here. There's these organic cheese puffs at Costco. They're called Annie's, cheese puffs or whatever. And we both love them. And then Costco, like they take stuff away all the time, and they didn't have it for like 6 months. And then I was driving over for state basketball. I stopped at the Costco in Twin Falls to get gas. And then I was like, I'll go in and get a hot dog. It's a real cheap lunch, right? But while I was in there, I saw that they had those cheese puffs. And so I was like, oh my gosh, Twin Falls has it and Pokey doesn't. And I bought like 10 bags, right? Legit. Like I went overboard. And then we came back to Pokey, and you made a discovery.
And then, what I did also learn, if there's an item that you want Costco to have, you can call the manager or whatever. And if enough people call and ask for it, they'll get it back in. So they like to do those things. If they know people want it, you just have to let them know.
Okay.
So
good to know. All right. I'll tuck that one away. Okay. Last thing we got to get to before we get out of here. This was a real light show that we kind of went all over the place. Okay. Coming up on Friday, one of the biggest track meets of the year. There's obviously Tiger Grizz, and that's kind of the gold standard. But for a lot of Idaho's smaller schools, the DirectCom Invitational on Friday is going to be a huge track meet. There's going to be 36 schools, 5A all the way down to 1A, from as far north as Leadore, as far south as Bear Lake. I mean, that's right there on the border, and as far west as Nampa Christian. So Nampa Christian's coming over, Melba's coming over, Bora is coming over to compete in this. It's going to be at Davis Field on the campus of Idaho State University in Pocatello. Beautiful facilities. They had it there for the first time, I think 2 years ago. They had it last year. It was an absolute downpour. Not a great day for a track meet. This year, the weather should be a little better at least. But this is going to be a big deal. And for the second year in a row, we're going to be broadcasting it for you on IdahoSports.com. So a little live track and field action. It starts Friday at 10 a.m.
And this is the one, right, where all the divisions compete against each other.
Yeah.
That's the really one. So you could have a 1A versus a 5A all in the same. That makes it really fun and really hammers out who is the best, right? It's cool when you see like, oh, Sugar Salem so-and-so won the competition, and all these other big schools are there. So that's what I always like to see in that that track meet.
So here's the official field. For your 5A schools, there's 4 of them. There's Highland, Rigby, Thunder Ridge, and then Bora is coming over from Boise. 4 Class 4A teams, all from East Idaho: Blackfoot, Century, Pocatello, Preston. At the 3A level, there's 4 teams coming, all from East Idaho: American Falls, Marsh Valley, Snake River, Sugar Salem. At the 2A level, this is where a lot of 2As, 1As. 2A from East Idaho: Aberdeen, Bear Lake, Firth, Malad, North Fremont, Ryrie, Soda Springs, and West Side, plus Melba and Nampa Christian from the west. And then the 1A level for East Idaho, you have Butte County, Chalice, Grace, Leadore, Mackey, North Gem, Rockland, Shoban, and Water Springs. And then a bunch of teams are coming over from District 4, Cary, Oakley, Murtaugh, Raft River, and Valley. So it's going to be a pretty good mix.
Yeah, that's you've got a little bit of everything. What I always like about for those big track meets is you get to see everyone's tent. Like everyone's got their elaborate tents, right? I'm waiting to see
Right.
the tent that has the built-in barbecue already ready to go, but everyone's got these, you think of a little pop-up shade thing, you have for your backyard. These track teams have these like glass, or not glass windows, but a plastic front so they can be inside and still be shut and watch. And I don't know, big screen TVs, they're watching Netflix. I don't know, but I always like to see all those elaborate tents they have.
Yes. Okay, a couple of events to keep an eye on, and it all starts at 10 a.m. The track and field events start at the same time. It'll start with the girls' 3,200-meter run. The first field event will be the girls' triple jump, and then the meet will end, Sean, with one of my favorites because this is an unofficial event. It's only, it's not at every track meet. It's going to be the 4x100-meter throwers relay. It's for the throwers only.
That'll be interesting. Now, who you got in that one?
Right. I don't know. I wouldn't bet against Highland on the girls' side.
That's what I've got.
Athletes.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking too. I was thinking Highland might be on the girls' side, might be a pretty fast running as well. So
it was pretty funny last year. They did this, and Century was in it, and Bruin Fleischman's like the anchor because he throws, but he's also just a freak athlete. So he's kind of an imposter there in the throwers relay,
and he's only gotten bigger since. So
right,
yeah, he's huge now. It's unreal. So hopefully he'll get to play a little bit this year. That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, that'll be pretty exciting for sure. So a couple of events that I'm pretty excited to watch. I'm excited to watch the girls shot put and discus because you've got Ruby Jordan from Highland, right, who's got the top shot put throw in the state. But Bora's bringing a girl over. Maddie Romberg is her name, and I think she could push Ruby in those throwing events. And then Jordan Kern from American Falls, also very quietly having a good season in the throwing events. I think another fun event is going to be the 200 because you've got some really fast athletes from Melba, Maya Young, Kendall Clark. You've got Tambry Bell from Highland, and then Yannetti Garbett from Soda Springs. She's really dynamic, especially in the 2 and the 4. So those are a couple on the girls' side that I think could be fun events. On the boys' side, the event I'm most excited to see is the high jump. Christian Bush of Bear Lake won the high jump at last year's DirectCom invite by clearing, I believe it was 6'3". He's cleared 6'2" this year, but he's going to be going up against Seth Hall from Aberdeen, who has cleared 6'8" this year. That's big. That's big league high jumping.
Wow. It might not be that much of a competition. Jeez, that's high.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see Christian Bush, Seth Hall go at it from Bear Lake and Aberdeen, and then Teague Matthews from Rockland, I think also has the potential in the high jump to put on a good performance. And then, I'm excited to watch McCoy Richardson from Melba. He is a dynamic long jumper and hurdler. I think it'll be fun to really watch him. And then some sprinters to keep an eye on from East Idaho. Corbridge Bastion from Marsh Valley's had a really nice season in the sprints, as has, Sugar Salem's got their usual, Porter Holt and Ty Hurlinger and, just a great contingent of athletes there. So, I think it's going to be pretty good competition. 10 a.m. Friday on IdahoSports.com. We'll be there all day long. It's going to be me and Paul Kingsbury and Logan Green, the best of the best, Sean.
Well, I mean, I'm not there, but
hey, if you want to sneak out of school early, I don't know what
I'll be at a tennis tournament.
Oh, that's right. Your tournament starts on Friday, right?
They expect me to be there, I guess, to coach or do something, I guess. I don't know.
We should swap roles and see if anybody notices. You go broadcast the track meet and I'll coach your team into the ground.
I don't know. But no, it's kind of funny. People always think like as a coach, you kind of think, I don't think anyone notices. But like if I wear different shoes, the kids are like, oh, coach has got different shoes on. It's like they notice everything. So yeah,
kids are perceptive.
They probably notice. So I did. We played Highland the other day, and I had 2 assistant coaches were feeding the balls, warming up, and I went around to every player and kind of gave them a high five, fist bump, and like, let's get it today. And I didn't think of anything of it, but my mom came to the match with my kids, and my mom goes, "The kids just wouldn't stop talking about how you high fived all of them." I'm like, I didn't even think anything of it. So, but yeah, it's kind of cool. It's a cool thing to be a coach and have those opportunities. And man, that track meet should just be very dynamic and just phenomenal. I just love seeing the different schools compete, like the different divisions. I think that's always just really fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. 36 schools in total will be competing. Rockland is the official host of the event. They had it for years and years over in American Falls, I believe. And then, Davis Field got the new facelift at ISU, and they're like, hey, let's go use the really nice facility. Let's do it.
Yeah. 36 teams. You can pony up a little money there.
Right. Yeah, you can afford to upgrade for sure. So, all right. So again, that'll be Friday, 10 a.m. on IdahoSports.com. All right, Sean. Well, good luck at the tennis at the Gate City Invite this weekend.
I'll be working on my tan.
Hopefully.
No, it'll be good. We just need matches, and we'll have this one this weekend, and then next weekend we'll go to a Boise. We're back into the Capital Invite, which is 36 teams from across Idaho and some from Oregon, Washington, usually too. So we're back in that. It took us a couple years after COVID and those changes, but we're back in that. I'm really excited for that, and to get that opportunity, and that we'll know where we stand at the end of it in the next couple of weeks for sure.
For sure. We were getting close to wrapping this thing up, but then I thought of 2 things. Sorry.
Final thoughts. You can turn to the side.
Yeah, right. Final thoughts. My ADD is really kicking in. It's been a long day. Okay. You had talked about in tennis, you have to get 10 matches in, right, to be seeded at state. And a lot of teams weren't going to hit that mark. Where are we at with that? Are you guys going to be able to still have your athletes seeded?
Yeah. Oh man, put me on the spot. Someone wrote an official letter to like Ty Jones at the IHSA to like, I don't know, that
petition for it.
Well, just to say it shouldn't be a deciding factor if it push comes to shove. And so that's already been sent. So they're aware of that. And so I don't think that will play a huge role in things. It shouldn't be, say we have, we're trying to seed and we shouldn't go, oh, they can't seed them. They don't have 10 matches, even though they're the best or the second best or whatever so that should be taken care of. I'm not in charge of those things, but that's been put out there. I mean, because I think I've even got more matches in than say like the Idaho Falls area. I think they were even farther behind in trying to get those matches in. So I think they petitioned and or whatever. There's an official memo or whatever that's been sent by one of the ADs. It might have been Skyline's AD who sent that out for the area, but I think that's taken care of. But we should be able to if we get to do these 2 tournaments, we'll be fine. So, but some teams don't have that luxury. Some teams like didn't even get 10 matches last year. So, it's a hard slating. We won't get into that, but the Boise always gets, like 18 matches where we're like at 12. And that, I mean, yeah, I don't know. If you were a football team and you only got to play half as many games as another team, there might be some uproaring at those meetings, but it's all right. We'll quietly just do our best.
Yeah. And I'm thinking of like in District 4 too, with like the Sun Valley Community School and Wood River, which traditionally have pretty strong tennis programs. They haven't even been able to go outside.
No, I'm friends with one of their assistant coaches, and he just posted some stuff on Instagram of like it pouring down snow, and they do have a couple inside facilities, so they do get a play. And it's funny, they just drive 1 hour, and it's nice in Twin Falls, so they've been able to get some matches in. I don't think they've gotten any at home at this point, but yeah, again, they'll be a strong team this year as well too. But yeah, it's tough. You don't want to have to travel everywhere to play either too. Sometimes it's nice to just wake out of your own bed and go home to your own bed early.
Yeah, because Wood River's not close to anything, so
no,
that's except Sun Valley Community School. But okay, last thing. Speaking of the IHSAA, it's been kind of talked about now recently. There's a new law coming into effect. The Idaho State Legislature passed this law. It goes into effect this summer that basically says every public school in Idaho will be open enrollment. Now, I think something like 60% of the high schools already have open enrollment. And that used to be a thing in Pocatello, right? Open enrollment.
Yeah. I mean, the state, it's nothing new. The state law says when it is a parent, you get to decide where your kid goes. Now, districts make different rules and caveats like busing, right? So boundaries has to do with busing. If you can't transport your kid, they have to ride the bus. They got to go to their in-boundary school, and things like that. So there was no boundaries or no thing before. It was just open enrollment in Pocatello. But yeah, I know that's been a big discussion with all the coaches, and they're talking, and then even a new article came out about levies and stuff. If all these people decide to go to another school, where does that money go? Right. You could just have these big migrations, and I know they're districts and the IHSA are going to have to work to kind of navigate through this, state law. Cause you can't just go, they could say something, right? We are going to do this, but if you had a lawyer, they would just go, it's the state law. It's hard to argue, on the law. You have to, and the big caveat in the Pocatello School District was enrollment size. So they would say you can't transfer because they're full.
And I believe that is the one stipulation that has been put in place, that if you are at your max facility wise, then you can kind of cap it. But obviously what people are worried about is it turning into the portal, right? The transfer portal that happens in college athletics, where a kid starts at school A, not happy with his playing time, 2 weeks into the season. Now I'm going to transfer to school B, which is 10 miles away, and I'm going to petition to play right away. And the IHSA currently says, well, unless you actually it was a bona fide move or a really legitimate reason for you to switch schools, you're not going to be able to play right away. And now basically it's my school, my choice, and I can go wherever I want, whenever I want. And it's going to be, I hate to think this, but I think lawyers will probably lawyers already get involved on a lot of these petitions.
Yeah. And talking to some ADs and stuff, it came that the state had gotten sick of hearing about all this, transfer and lawyers. And so I know that was a big part of it. One thing that was presented to me by an AD was kind of interesting. If you're in a trimester system and it goes the way it goes, like in Pocatello, we do trimesters. So you could start at Highland, go to Pokey, end at Century in 3 trimesters. That'd be crazy to me to be at 3 different schools. So that it could happen, maybe with this legislation, but yeah, I'm glad I don't work in Boise sometimes, because they're going to have to navigate this, because essentially, districts can be in charge of it, and the district can say something. And then if kind of what's happened, if the district says no, then they go to the IHSA, and then, the IHSA doesn't want to step over what a district says. And so now they're going to, hopefully it opens doors for everyone to work a little better and be more on the same page. I guess I want to take a positive thing on this. Maybe they'll come up with a more unified way. Everyone will be on the same page. And then you also get that stoppage of kids just moving too, because, I don't know what but maybe if it's just kind of a unified thing and you know what you get, and the IHSA and districts work better together, maybe you come up with something better than what we have. Maybe.
Yes. And right now people are asking, well, what's the IHSA going to do? What? And the answer is, we don't know yet. We're all kind of processing this in real time. They're going to talk about it at their June meeting. And I think they should take some time and try to come up with a game plan as best as they can, because I really don't want that governing ability taken away from the IHSA. They serve a very important role, and I don't want to see that go away.
And it's very interesting too with the possibility of the new classification numbers, right?
Right.
And so what someone told me, another administrator told me, is now they're going to have to really like track those numbers of kids. Like they're going to have to come up with a very more, because the schools just like self-report their numbers. And now, people can go wherever they want, and those classification sizes changes. You've just opened a whole nother bag of worms there of how do they report this? How do you, they don't have that many kids, or they have that many kids. And man, I see a lot of problems in that scenario as well.
Yeah, so maybe in June we can circle back to this topic and explore it a little more. But right now we're kind of treading on new ground, and I'm not sure how this is going to go. But I hope it goes a certain way and not another. Just as somebody who enjoys the spirit,
we'll have something to talk about either way.
Right. I do think that, parents should be able to choose the school they want their child to go to. I do agree with that, because some schools academically offer different things that you just can't get at other schools, right? Like, for example, this school might have a really, awesome science department and really good science teachers, and that's what your kid's really into. Okay, go to that school. That's fine. Or maybe this school has a better mathematics program. But when it's purely athletics, I mean, unless it's a really good reason, I'm kind of old school. It's like stick it out and, stick it out with your current team and try to make the best of that situation. Because when you get into the workforce, you're not going to be able to just quit your job and go to you're not going to be able to job hop every time you're unhappy. You got to figure it out and make it work.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. There's one of my players left the week before spring break, didn't tell anyone, missed a week of practice and stuff, didn't tell anyone, shows up after spring break. And I'm like, if you just didn't go to work for a week, do you think you'd have a job? And he's like, no. And, it's kind of like that. And in high school sports, obviously winning and having those moments is something you'll keep with you forever. But being with your friends and teammates and doing whatever you're doing, messing around on the bus and eating out and spilling milkshakes and making me mad, and those are the things that you take with you. Yeah, some wins and losses you'll take with you and talk with your buddies, but those experience and friendships, that's really the most important. And when you start doing stuff like that, you muddle that experience, you muddle the friendships. I've been on bad teams as a kid, but we're still all friends with all those people. Who could care less about the scores and stuff, because your friendships and learning how to be, a productive, responsible person and knowing how that works makes just life so much better. I have kids, tennis players that have, they did really well in tennis, and that was great, but now they're like doctors, and I don't know, there's nothing cooler than, oh, Dr. So-and-so, and they're like coach, and like those are the things those are the things that are cool. So
Yeah.
that kind of muddles it in my mind when you're starting to move just for sports and things like that.
Yeah. So I hope that's the exception, not the rule. And again, this is all kind of new territory for us, and we'll see how it goes. But we'll circle back to it in June. But this is kind of on the periphery now, and people are talking about it. So, we need to talk about it as well. So, all right. Well, now 20 minutes later. Good luck this weekend, Sean.
Thank you. We'll do our best. I'm excited. I love opportunities. Give me an opportunity and I'll make something of it. That's kind of what I look forward to.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Well, for Sean Kane, I'm Brandon Baney. Thanks for sticking with us, everyone, on the East Idaho Prepcast. We'll see you next time on IdahoSports.com.